Welcome to Guelph Fight Wrestle Hut. I am Andrew Sennedra. This is the Weed Man, Captain Witchfingers, and this is going to be our afterthoughts video on the Forbidden Door. But we're going to be diving into the first match right off the bat here. We got the Sex Gods, which is Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, and they had Minoru Suzuki teaming up with them, taking on Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino. Anyways, that was a pretty good match to start off the pay-per-view. Hard hitting, a lot of energy, a lot of excitement right off the bat. You had a bit of high flying from Sammy, some technical stuff from Wheeler Yuta, straight up brawling with Eddie Kingston and Minoru Suzuki going toe to toe. You know, so this match had a lot of dynamics to it, I thought, which I think kept it really interesting, as well as the pace.
Yeah. I like the interactions, like with Suzuki and Kingston, where he was like taking the straps, and Suzuki's like, "Oh no, you didn't!"
It's like you're taking the straps on, you're calling me in.
And then they slapped the hell out of each other. Man, it was awesome.
It's kind of funny that it's like taking off the straps, and he's like, "What do you think you're doing? It's go time." Then it's followed up by a pretty good match. I think probably one of the top matches on the card: FTR versus Roppongi Vice versus United Empire. You know, that was really all over the place, hard hitting. Very solid match overall.
Yeah, it's also pretty good to see everybody's able to improvise, because Dax kind of got hurt and
that really
back, so that kind of threw the match into it could have thrown into chaos, but everybody is able to improvise and keep the match going, flowing smoothly. So good job to them.
I think that was pretty good. You know, Cash had to take a beating for a while, it seemed like, and then I think for a bit it was like United Empire going toe to toe with Roppongi Vice to sort of give the match, focus on that until Dax could come back. So it worked out really well in the end, even though there was an injury. So that really shows how well-rounded all these guys are.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe that made it better, because when Dax came back, he got a big ovation, and then even though he's he's still German, everybody, his shoulder is gonna be okay.
That's what I thought. In the beginning, he wasn't really using his shoulder. Then he started using it, so I was like, oh man, that's pretty tough of him. And Cash was pretty tough. He took a beating. Great Khan sat on his head. So overall, it was a pretty tough match. Then we go into one hell of a match. I think one of the top matches again on the card: Miro versus Malachi Black versus Pac and Clark Connors, who was a very late addition to that for the All-Atlantic title, which I still don't know what that's going to be all about, if it's going to be guys mostly from different parts of the world or not. But anyways, pretty solid match. Miro for the most part was dominating, it seemed, beating up Clark Connors for the most part, and Malachi and Pac had some really spectacular moments as well. But I like that Clark Connors got in his one little thing against the biggest guy out of nowhere, spearing Miro through the table, and that really led to I think the shift in the match where Pac was able to sort of come in and take over a little bit to get the win.
So yeah, I just thought Connor was just a fodder, and then he's getting his ass kicked, and then he's fed up, and he's nobody's stepping his stone, and then he starts kicking everyone's ass. I thought that was kind of a cool spot for him. I also the beginning, how Pac he's don't see anybody, all he sees is Malachi back. He just charges at him, kind of thing. He's and then you see Miro getting mad, and then Miro throws him around, and then he charges him again. He ducks Miro, and then he goes gives him a big boot. He's I'm gonna kill you, Malachi.
It was pretty good paced match too. For everything, it was pretty non-stop. Even though sometimes it was only two guys in the ring at a time, but pretty good pace overall for the whole match. And I actually thought, I told you this before the pay-per-view, that I thought Clark Connors was going to have the most pressure on him, even though all these titles, because this guy was coming in out of nowhere. You were going to see if he made a mistake. It was going to stand out big time if he did. And he's going into a pay-per-view match for a title against names like Miro, Pac, and Malachi Black. So there was all this pressure, man, I got to perform. I don't want to mess up with these guys because I'll make them look bad. I just felt there was a lot of pressure on a guy who pretty much nobody knew, and they put him in that spot on that stage to do that. And I was I think he did what he just needed to do to fit into that spot.
Yeah, and I also think there's a lot of good moments in that match. During that submission, Miro like pulling Connor's hair to save him to bring him the ropes.
I've never seen that. I'm gonna yank your hair to get you the ropes to break the submission. Guy's like,
it's like offensive and defensive move at the same time.
So what would have happened if he tapped? Would have been because of the hair. So, the next match, was I think even like every match I thought was getting better and better, and we have Dudes with Attitudes versus the Bullet Club, which was the Young Bucks and El Phantasmo. Dudes with Attitudes, Sting, Darby Allin, and Shingo Takagi, who I thought actually did pretty well, but he didn't show up any of the AEW guys, but he did have his moments. He sort of stood out, kind of funny, but unfortunately Hiromu Takahashi couldn't be in the match, so that means Hikuleo couldn't be in the match, but at least he was out there causing conflicts.
Yeah, this is a great match. I love the double team, like the powerbomb, the stomp into a powerbomb, and then I love the comedic moments too, where like Phantasmo, whatever. Like he's like doing all these things, like doing all these like flips. You think he's gonna do something cool, and then he does puts like a Hogan back scratch. I'm like, what is that?
Damn Hogan back scratch.
And then Mac Jackson is like, oh, I'm gonna one up you, I'm gonna do a bunch of flips, and I'm gonna do one of these, and then like scratch your back too.
And El Phantasmo's nipple pinching didn't work on Sting yet, the man of the iron nipples, and then he turns around and does the same thing to El Phantasmo. And a lot of people sort of like, I noticed that when I was looking up online what people's thoughts were, they had this match like ranked low because like the comedic moments, which I just find sometimes ironic because like, I feel like sometimes people enjoy the comedic moments from like the old WWF, like the Rock and Sock Connection, but Bullet Club can't necessarily do that. It's not as funny, but I think they do it in good taste, and they do it in the right spots and build on it at times, and it's not like a match killer or anything, and they don't slow the match down because of it. It's just a really consistent match, and they don't really sort of mess things up too much with it.
I don't know. I think it's unique. It's like I see punching and I see kicking every day, right? Like that's not unique to me. Like that gets dull and boring. I don't know. And like so, like I think it's hilarious. Like when like you see Sting give him like a double death drop, and then Phantasmo's like celebrating. They're kicking Sting's ass, and then he's like around.
Yeah, and what's funny about it is like Sting got into it, and he's like old school dude who's like 65, right? Like he got into it, he went with it, So I don't understand. Like it was just a bit in there, so it wasn't like over the top, something terribly ridiculous or something like that. But overall, I think the match was really solid. Then the pay-per-view I think builds even more. Every match was getting better and better. I think this was the match of the night. Orange Cassidy versus Will Osprey. I thought it was a killer. It was exciting. It was high-paced. It was tough. It was a little comedic at times. This match really had everything, especially for two guys. Sometimes we talk about how like two guys, it's sort of hard to keep it really good, especially if it's a good 15-minute match and keep it on the edge of the seat. But they definitely pulled it off in this one. Will Osprey showed his complete arsenal of ass-whoopingness and all his crazy athletic abilities and his strikes and submissions and everything he did. And Orange Cassidy showed a very wide array of what he did, not just the comedic stuff and being a whooping boy. Sometimes he takes a lot of shots, but he showed a lot of diversity in his stuff, especially in his like first match really coming back after Keith Lee hurt him. Stupid idiot.
Yeah, for sure, it was like a fun match, and I like how they're kind of playing off their gimmicks. Yeah. Like he's putting his hands in his pockets, they're giving like a middle finger.
Oh yeah, Will Osprey putting his hand in his oranges.
And then like gives him a hidden blade, and then like he pretends to be dead, so he's like dodging the hidden blade away.
Oh yeah, he just falls
over his head. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it was really hard hitting. There's a lot of like crazy strong moments. Like Will Osprey is just, I think, one of the best at making moves look even more impactful. The way he takes DDTs, the way he takes shots, the way he falls and gets, so that really made Orange Cassidy's offense look even, and better. More impressive, more impactful. So I thought like just overall everything in the match was really, really solid. And obviously his arsenal is absolutely killer. And Orange Cassidy kicking out of the hidden blade, which I sort of thought was going to happen. They're going to toughen him up, but he could not kick out of the move I kept calling. I was like, Storm. I was waiting for Kevin Kelly to lay on the Stormbreaker, but he never really got to do it quite the way he does it when he's doing commentary for New Japan.
And then it's funny to see Orange like trying to play dead. And then Osprey's like doing the flips, and then like he rolls all the way, and then he does another flip. He rolls like he does like a billion flips, and he finally gets Orange.
Yeah, doing that successive like moonsault, shooting star press into I think a corkscrew. Like that crazy amount of athleticism that and endurance he was showing up to that point. Like that's what I mean. These New Japan guys, their abilities, not just their abilities, but their abilities to do it later in matches when you know your chest starting to burn for oxygen, your legs are starting to, is crazy. And that's why I'm always so impressed with Jeff Cobb's feats of strength and his power and what he does. And that's sort of showcased, I think, later on in the pay-per-view as well. Then we get onto a guy who does showcase a lot of endurance and ability to go long and have like Will Osprey, just a wide array of weapons in his arsenal. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Claudio Castagnoli. I was, excited when he came out, but I was really less excited when the match kicked off because I was expecting what Bryan Danielson said, somebody to match Zack Sabre Jr., in a technical setting. But we only really got to see Zack Sabre Jr. do so much of his technical stuff. I felt like it was 5% of what he can actually do, and most of the match was just him trying things and Claudio doing feats of strength.
Yeah, I was also surprised too because Daniel made it out like this guy is super technical. He's on like Zack Sabre Jr.'s level, so I'm expecting a super technical match. But then it wasn't quite what we got, but not necessarily bad. We saw Claudio's crazy feat of strength where he's like holding him around the ring from outside to inside.
Tossing him back in,
Yeah, finally gives him the powerbomb. I was expecting him to smash him on the steel, but they didn't want to break him,
And then we go on to a really solid match in my opinion. We got it for the IWGP Heavyweight title. We got the Catalyst Jay White going up against Kazuchika Okada, the new ace, I guess, of New Japan. We got Adam Cole and Adam Hangman Page, which I thought this was really cool. 4-man match for a title. We almost never see something like this. It was a pretty solid match. A lot of people had their moments. I was hoping, that Kazuchika could get his Rainmaker in and lay somebody out. But maybe that was supposed to happen a bit later. But obviously something happened in this match to Adam Cole, so it sort of took a weird turn towards the end. But overall, I still think it was a solid performance.
Yeah, it's also good to see that Adam Cole is like a freaking sniper. Every time he does like a moonsault, he always gives like the perfect sweet chin music. I think he gave like a dozen sweet chin music, gave everybody super kick.
Well, he kept kicking Okada a lot in the face. He's like, eat this, eat this. But yeah, that super kick on Hangman, like that seems to be their thing. He does the moonsault. Cole kicks him in the face on the way down. Very accurate, especially since I'm surprised that he hasn't given Hangman Page a concussion or something off of that. But very precise accuracy there. And
it seemed like everyone was trying to kill Adam Cole. Like everyone was trying to give him the clothesline, buckshot clothesline, Rainmaker clothesline. He's like ducking and dodging and weaving. He's like trying to get over super kicks.
So yeah, he's the sniper and he's the snake because he gave Jay White the backstabber. Ironic move to do when he was when their team supposed to be teaming up, then he gives them the backstabber.
That was perfect. That's perfect move.
Perfect move for the perfect thing to do right there. But overall, I think it was a pretty solid pay-per-view. Maybe a few hiccups there, just because that's our opinion on how we like our wrestling. And if you don't like that, you can F off. But overall, on our ranking system, from good, great, awesome, amazing, spectacular, fantastic, where would you have this?
It's pretty good. I'll say amazing. Pretty high level.
I was thinking spectacular, then I thought that, Claudio Castagnoli pulled it down a smidgen a bit for me. So yeah, I was going to go amazing. I think this might be the first time we agreed on what a pay-per-view should be ranked at. But overall, I thought it was really good. I was really excited. I love the blending of the styles of the companies coming together.
Yeah.
This just makes it exciting. We can go, having all these different wrestlers come together once in a while, especially if they do this once a year, sort of like Ring of Honor and New Japan did. I think that would be a great idea and sort of add a lot of flavor and give guys breaks. Like Jungle Boy wasn't included in this, so he's able to have this break, and I just think it's a smart idea for both companies. In our predictions, that means we're 2-1-1 you.
Yeah.
2-1 and
still up.
So yeah, it's kind of cool. We should keep track of that a little better. But in regards to Double or Nothing, he wasn't feeling well. That's why we weren't able to do our thoughts on that. So blame him if you're interested in seeing that, which might be the two people that watch our videos. But good old Mighty John of Sweden. Anyways, folks, that's our thoughts on Forbidden Door and what we thought, and I can't seem to flip this thing closed. So until next time, folks, how about some heavy wrestling?